Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to another episode of GameCorp. This is the one and only gaming podcast that you will ever need. I am your host, as always. My name is Matt Hedrick, and here with me, doing all the work behind the scenes and being the most entertaining person on the show, that's Chad Porto. How are you, sir?
I wonder why I even do this show with you. I do all the work. Our video victim of the week is Minays. Thank you for not letting us take your YouTube video. We're going to take it anyway. We're just using it to fucking play in the background of the Twitch stream. The podcast is the crux of the show, our opinions and such about things and whatnot. So, you want to do Doom, the classic OG why?
Well, truth be told, I got a copy of Doom Eternal this week, and I've been playing it, so I just kind of had like the Doom series on the brain, you know. So I just kind of felt like maybe we should just go back to the original and try that one.
Well, I don't like you. That has nothing to do with the game. That's more of a general statement.
I don't know. The way you were talking made it seem like it was just a little bit of both.
I mean, it's always a little bit of both. So, I have a hard time grading these kinds of games because they're so based in what you could do with the technology.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for me to sit here and go, oh, yeah, even for 1993, this was great. Because I don't know if that's the case. I do know that for me, as far as an FPS goes, it moves, and this is the same with the 2016 version too. It moves really fast, and I know that's part of its allure.
Mm-hmm.
It's heart pounding. It's but in 2 years' time, give or take, we would end up getting GoldenEye, which was a far better FPS than the original Doom. So I don't know if I can sit here and judge this accurately because of that, or if my opinion is going to be a little bit too dogged for this. But we'll find out. I mean, what about you? Did you have any concerns?
Like coming in to review this, not really. Like I do see your point though with this game being a lot faster. It's not like most typical first-person shooters. There's like it's trying to keep the heart pumping, pulse racing, trying to get you in the action and everything. So that might throw some people off, especially it kind of gives you this feeling of being like overwhelmed in a way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it takes a slight adjustment for me, but I didn't have like too many issues with it. I got the hang of it after a while. It doesn't take.
Well, I think some of my more poignant issues will be obvious once we get there. Let's start with the. I'm gonna actually tone down the quality of the video. It's Doom. You don't need to see it. It's not that impressive.
Mm.
For graphics, this isn't just about, graphical power, it's also about design. For me, I don't like a lot of the aesthetics, especially with the level designs. It's all very maze-like, which is kind of the point, but I think
Mm.
you kind of lose something with that methodology when you only have a finite amount of enemies. Like, if this was kind of like, Resident Evil 2, because I've been playing that myself, where even if you clear all the guys, eventually there's going to be more to get you. Then, all
Mm.
right, the maze mentality, making all the walls look the same and making all the trap doors hidden, like all that makes sense then. But that's not the case, It's not the case at all. So I feel like you lose a lot of its quality in its level design.
You feel like it was trying to have like maybe a survival horror like level design, but it's trying to do it with like first person shooter mechanic, and they just kind of don't blend well, maybe.
No. What I said is what I meant.
Okay.
This is a game that just looks the same no matter where you are. And it's done intentionally to be almost maze-like, at least I would assume, or they were limited on their what they could do asset-wise. But when it's, when the levels essentially all look the same, save for a handful, I think like the biggest difference is in room to room is sometimes you'll see like different accessories. Like we just saw one with tridents or trident lights that were like there, and then another time you'll see like a giant portrait, but it's all pretty much the same static gray kind of concrete wall. And if this was done in a way where enemies keep respawning, there is no limit to how many can pop up, and you're forced to run around to find the right way out, killing all that you can as you go, trying to conserve ammo, trying to find the right way through, then it would make sense. I still wouldn't have enjoyed it, but at least it would have made sense. But in this game, you can clear the entire level and just explore, and then you're fine. So I don't understand the need for such a maze-like aesthetic when I don't feel like it adds much value to the experience. It's also not very haunting. It's all very just drab. I feel like I'm in the sewers.
I think a lot of it too is that they're trading like visual, like, how do I say it, like they're trading variety of like visual design maybe in place for like performance to a degree, it seems like
And that's fair, but
trying to make things simplistic to make it fun, like to make it work.
and that's fair. But as we've said before, with similar experiences like that, if it's like a character design, you can let it go. But if it's part of the game is finding a way through with doors that don't look like doors, and again, that's part of part of the whole experience. Like is this the way to go? And I feel like when you sacrifice such a valuable perspective as something as level design for not graphical, but for gameplay performance, I feel like you've exceeded your reach on that one. Because there's another big issue that we're going to get to with gameplay that I don't like at all, but it's more of it's something that you'll understand here in a second when we get to it. But for me, I can't give the graphics more than a 3 because it just looks so drab and gray. And while the character designs for 1993 may have been really fucking astounding for some people, I was never afraid of them. I thought they looked hokey as shit. I don't anymore.
Yeah, they're very
updated.
stock, and they don't like freak you out. The only thing that really can freak you out about them is if like you're in a room shooting something and you don't necessarily know if something's coming up behind you, but it's not like being scared like, it's more like fuck and I gotta turn around. It's a little different.
Well, it's like
Um
GoldenEye in that regard. Like it's not so much that you're scared. It's
mhm.
like damn it, here we go again.
Yeah, it's just more annoying than scary. Um but yeah, this game is rough in the presentation department. The only thing that's even like I think that has a slight edge is the um like maybe not even the animations of the characters, just the designs of the different monsters or something. 'Cause at least they're trying to throw some different things at you.
Mm-hmm.
But for the levels themselves, I find them very boring to play through. Actually, like it's just one after the other, and it kind of to me takes away from the tension a lot. So I can't really give it that high of a score. So I think I'm gonna honestly, I can't fault it too much though. I'll go 3. I think that's par for course.
I don't want to be too hard on like the graphical look of it because I know at the
Mm.
time they only had so much they can do, but still in that regard, it's still not real pleasant to look at. So
Well, you got to remember too is this was ported to a lot of different things, and it had to try to perform on a bunch of different systems too. So there was trade-offs in certain regards too.
well, I'm just grading it off the original PC version.
Okay.
So for sound, I'm about to go super on the spectrum of controversial. That first song that you play is great.
Mm.
There isn't another good song on this track. I played through about 2 hours, give or take, maybe more like 90 minutes. And the only song that really kind of hit home was that opening number that you start off with. Now, again, that's not to say the new Doom is anywhere close to that because the new Doom soundtracks is fantastic, especially what's that one called? You're the Only Thing They Fear or something like that. Oh, it's so good. But Original Doom, I don't know if they were. Again, this might be a situation where they only had so much limited space or files, and they can only do so much in terms of number of notes and how long the track can be. Before they had to loop it. But again, that if that's the case, that's your reach exceeding your grasp, and that does kind of affect how I view this. So I'm going to give it a 3.
Well, because it's when you start off a game and you try to set a tone with such an epic song, and then you follow each track with something that isn't as like gradually lowers in quality, it's not as impressive anymore. You're not as into it and feeling it anymore. It doesn't really give you the vibe of wanting to like getting excited about playing these stages. It just kind of becomes like there's all these like melancholy tones, if that's a correct term. They
Not
they try to go like
melancholy, but
drab and eerie with it.
drab and eerie is more what you wanted to say, I think. Because melancholy is more
Okay, yeah, I
like
was just trying to find the right term.
it's melancholy is more like sad emo, like fucking Simple Plan. How could this happen to me? That's melancholy.
Okay, yeah, Drab and eerie then is probably what I was trying to think of then, but yeah, it's trying to go for that, and when you're doing fast-paced things, it's all off-putting to me. Like I can't get into it. The first one's the only good one I think too. So,
Well, they tried to do black metal, which is more
mhm,
gothic in nature, but still fast and still has, a bit of a metal riff to it. But in terms of ambiance, I think it does a decent job, but it's just not very memorable. And I think that's the big issue. Like when you think about like the original Mario Brothers game, you had do 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 do, and then like you go into
mhm,
the dungeon levels, it's dun 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 dun. Like so, like Zelda's kind of the standard bearer for I think the genre of games that always seems to have great music no matter where you go. I just don't
right.
feel like for the original Doom that's the case either. So
Yeah, because it's though that game is Mario Brothers was doing things that would connect you to each stage you're playing. This one just doesn't pull that off, and I think honestly for a score, it's man, I'm writing it. I'm on a cusp of a 2 or a 3. I don't. I'm thinking 2 though. I think I want to stick with 2 because
okay.
I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling that much, other than that first track. It only gets 2 for the first track, honestly.
So for gameplay, the biggest issue I have is that you have a very powerful system in a 1993, 1994 home PC. Granted, in comparison, it's nothing compared to what we have now.
Mm.
I have a laptop that is more capable of launching a 1960s era missile to the moon than what they had in the 60s. So like I understand that 90s computers completely out of date in comparison. But the thing that
Mm.
I kind of want to point out is that even in 93, 92, when this came out,
Mm.
PCs were pretty fucking powerful. I think to the best of my knowledge, it had better graphical processing power than the N64 when it came out. So I have a hard
Or
time,
or at least around there, or at least
yeah.
around there.
And so I have a hard time believing that you couldn't have figured out a way to do aiming in this. Now, the game kind of gives you a bit of a break where it doesn't matter what level you're on, where the bad guys are. If you point in the general direction, you're going to hit them. So, like, if they're on, like, a top balcony thing and they're shooting at you, all you got to do is point at the wall and you're going to hit them, even if they are on a different level. I always hated that as a kid because it fucking baffled my brain. Like, I'm shooting at the ground. Like, how the fuck am I hitting you? So,
Or
that
like
was
you're
always
shooting at you
something.
from far away with a shotgun, and shotgun's not a sniper rifle.
Yeah, yeah. That's a pretty good example, but that wasn't really something that I had the biggest issue with. For me, it was the whole change in elevation because when I first played this was probably 96, 97. I went over to my friend Jesse's house and he was playing Doom and Wolfenstein because those were his two favorite games at the time. And we had played.
Mm.
We had just gotten done playing like a whole set of rounds of GoldenEye, and I went back to play Doom with him, and I'm like, how do you aim? He goes, oh, you just point in the general direction and fire. I'm like, that's so easy. And he's like, yeah. So it's not a very compelling game because it's very simple gameplay. This was a game that definitely got bought into with the hype, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna give gameplay
Yeah,
a 3.
it's 3.
Yeah.
Wow, this game's just getting fairly just average across the board, man. Damn.
Well, I think part of
Um,
the because like
yeah,
think about the game. Think about the game for a second. The game itself isn't
mhm.
all that impressive. When it came out, it was just super violent, and that's why everyone loved it. It was super violent, super gory. But now that we've seen true gore in video games and true violence in video games, it no longer has the same mystique to it. So now you're forced to grade it basically just off of the gameplay itself, and that's gonna be
And
rough.
sadly where it lies is most part just generic and average, you know? That's
Mm-hmm.
where it ends up landing for them for most of it. And it's no different in the gameplay. Like I think this is like a tale of two games too. Like it's trying to be a puzzle exploration game and being a first person shooter. And I don't know. Aspects to that like make the gameplay kind of redundant to me because you're just doing the same fucking shit every level,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
It's
or having
very
the same
repetitive.
path and stuff.
It's
And
very
I'm like, this
repetitive.
isn't really strategy, you know what I mean? There's no
Mm-hmm.
strategy to this. It's just run in a fucking room and grab a key card. Like, yeah, great. Um, oh yeah, this is like too easy. And I think, like you said, at the time it was more about the gore than what it was about the game. It was more like this was shock value because it's gory. Um, but other than that, no, this is generic, man. This again, this is like, man, I'm on 2 and 3s again. Hmm. I don't think I can fault it too hard though. I think 3's a better spot. 3.
Okay. For fun factor, so like this is a game that you would think would be very much up my alley because I'm very much about the spooky ookies.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't very spooky. There's damn sure no ookies, and I feel like it's trying to be like what's his name? H.R. Geiger, the guy who created like the Alien franchise. I think that's the right
Mm-hmm.
name. Man. Let me Google this. I don't want to seem like a dunce. H.R. Geiger. H.A. Geiger was a Swiss painter, best known for his airbrush images of humans and machines linked together in a cold biomechanical relationship. Later, he abandoned airbrush work for his pastels. Here we go. He was part of the special effects team that won an Academy Award design for work on the film Alien. So, yes, I was correct. But it very much feels like H.R. Geiger meets H.P. Lovecraft. And I feel like it doesn't really have its own unique tone. The funny thing is now it's started, like when you look at the modern franchise, it has started to find its own unique tone. And I think that's really funny
Mm.
that a game series that was so based off of someone else's designs and inspirations found their own. So I appreciate that.
Feel
Oh,
like a modern telling actually made it better, you know?
yeah. For fun factor though, I'm gonna give it a 2. I am not a OG Doom fan.
I think the biggest thing here is the repetition of it all. It become makes it very, very boring.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you up the difficulty, all you get is more annoyance. There's no strategy or excitement to it. You're just gonna more or less piss yourself off with how much is coming at you. Um, God damn, this is tough. I honestly, personally had no fun at all playing it. I was just going through the motions. I got to be real. So I might actually go lower than you. I might go with a 1 on this one.
Whew. As far as challenge goes, it can be a challenge at
Not really.
times. Well, it can be a challenge at times. I find I probably played on a higher difficulty than you.
Mhm.
But you have to kind of like map out how you want to attack the guys. But like that's also part of the issue.
Mhm.
Much like a lot of the games in this time period, a lot of what you're dealing with is kind of repetitive movements from certain guys. Like Mike Tyson's punch out. Once you remembered how the correct pattern, you were fine. Just like this game, like once you know what's in the room, you can easily deduce how to deal with it and barely take any damage. So I don't feel like it's that much of a challenge, but it can be at times. But it's nothing that I would write home about unless you're playing on hard, in which case it's just kind of obnoxious. I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah, I think when it comes to challenge, I really wish the AI was a little different. But then again, we're talking about early generation, so you can't really say that. You can't really say that to a degree because of limitation. But I think variety to how they would do things and maybe pose more of a threat and make it more exciting. But it's just not. Yeah. Let's see. Three. You said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe 2.
Okay.
Maybe.
So then let's see. That's a 3. It's a 2.5. That's a 3. That's a 1.5. And that's a 2.5.
Whew, that was loud. Damn.
Final score is 12.5 out of 25. For a percentage of 50%.
Sorry, Doom fans. We're just not fans.
Blame Matt. I didn't want to do it
I get
anyway.
blamed for everything anyway. This wouldn't be anything new.
That's true. Oh, and the main villain is a giant mech spider. Or is that a different game? I think this one was the giant. Yeah, he's the giant demon dude. But still, it's like,
Just a very meh game to review, right?
It really is. It really is. So, with that being said, do you have any other comments on the Doom franchise?
Not really. Doom to me is a very straightforward game to review. Honestly, there's once you've experienced it once, you definitely don't need to experience it again. So, um,
Well, with that being said, I guess it's time to dive into our useless news. With Matthew Hedrick. And chat, oh wait, we lost him. He got swept up in the storm. Now to the front desk with Matthew Hedrick.
I thought you really lost me there for a second. um,
Oh no, we lost Chad.
Thank you for.
He was going to do the weather, but he got swept away in it.
Well, based on how it's raining right now, you probably get drowned in it. Thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Matt Edrick, and this is your useless news. Here are tonight's top stories before my house floods and I get carried away. Damn.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, don't be surprised if my power knocks out here in about another minute.
Here's hoping. Nintendo Direct Mini Roundup. All of the new games heading to Switch. Matthew, which games that are heading to Switch have piqued your interest?
There's been a lot. The biggest one I think out of the whole news story was the all of the games 2K is publishing to get over to the Switch. There was just a big slew of them they decided to release. They're doing 3 different series. They're going to do the BioShock collection, all of those games. They're going to release the Borderlands Legendary Collection, which is going to have 1 and 2 and the pre-sequel on it. And they're also putting out XCOM, which I think is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely there's a lot for them to release here, and I like the fact that more third parties are actually supporting the Switch. It's nice to see that. There was a lot of big like drops this week though. Like things they decided to release them just on the spot. Like Panzer Dragoon, the remake of the original game, that just got thrown out there as a release. There was mention of a Star Wars game, Jedi Academy. Personally, not familiar with it, but I am interested in older games because I do think some of the older ones actually do hold up. Like Battlefront holds up quite well. So I do like the fact that that's happening. They're going to release Racer at some episode 1 Racer at some point. What else is there? Burnout Paradise. That was nice to see getting a Switch port, even though that's a pretty old game. I still like it because there's not many like full blown racing games on Switch right now. So that's a good one to see. Um, let's see what else.
So all these
If anybody hasn't,
are remakes or ports, I should say.
most of the ones I'm interested in right now, yeah, most of them are ports because a lot of the other things like Xenoblade Chronicles got mentioned. Its definitive edition is getting a release, but I never played the original, so that didn't really like pique my interest too much. Other than that, the only other one that really stands out, I mean, was mention of a next Smash character. It's going to be from the Arms series or Arms game. And if you own a Switch right now, you can actually play the game itself in its entirety free until like April 6th, I believe. So they're offering that as a nice like promotion, even though by this point, if you haven't played it, that game came out like I think maybe a year after launch, maybe not even that. So I don't know who hasn't played it at this point, but there's some demos that came out. One for Bravely Default 2. It's supposed to be Square's next big game on the system. Um, let's see some more. There's some more DLC for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and honestly, that's pretty much it. I think what people were getting upset about is that we they always complain about there's such a long drought of not getting any news from from Nintendo, and I'm telling them like, what do you expect when they don't have anything to announce? They can't just throw things out there at random, think they're going to announce it because maybe there's a lot of things that just aren't ready yet, especially with what's going on right now. You know, production's getting halted on like a lot of stuff at the moment,
And
or at least it's
we'll get to
changing.
more of that here in a little bit. Next up, this is interesting, mostly because I don't care.
See, that's weird because you actually have me intrigued. I'm like, oh shit, did I pique his interest? And no,
Ryan Reynolds is
no.
reportedly in talks for a Dragon's Lair movie. Excuse me.
Yeah, because this was a game that was, I believe, this was designed by not yeah the art the visuals or whatever was designed by the guy Dom Bluth, I believe his name was. He did Pete's Dragon, a lot of other animated
Didn't he
movies.
also do
Yep.
Sword in the Stone?
I think so. Yeah, it's in that same vein of animation. This was like the very early days of like these are the kind of games that kind of almost like made quick time events a thing and played them out like a story. But the thing was here, it was all like cartoon animation basically, and I thought that was really cool.
This game is all
Um,
QuickTime. That's all it is.
mm, yeah, there's three. I think there's three games that were made like this at that time. There was the two Dragon's Lair games, and then there was one called Space Ace, I believe. It was all like animated and created by him. So, but seeing Ryan Reynolds do this doesn't surprise me because this is, from what I've found out, this is like the third video game movie or related movie thing he's gonna do because he's already done Detective Pikachu. He's gonna be in a movie this year called, was it Free Guy or Free Man or something like that, where he's actually gonna be like he's living the life of an NPC character in an open world game, which I find interesting. And then you got, of course, this movie. So it seems like he doesn't mind attaching himself to these projects. I don't know why. Maybe he's just a video gamer or something. I don't know.
Well, he did Van Wilder, so he doesn't really have much in the regards of quality. Same with R.I.P.D. Let's
Yeah,
see.
Deadpool's been the only real quality thing from him in the past few years.
I don't know if that's true, but I also don't know that it's not. I haven't seen much of his portfolio in recent years. Remedy signs deal with Epic for two next gen games. I don't know why this is news, so please explain to me why.
Well, Remedy they have done three different games so far. They've done Alan Wake and Control and what was it, Quantum Break. And it's seeing them get an exclusive deal with somebody like Epic. I'm just wondering what kind of game they're gonna make. And it's interesting to me because they're saying that of these two games, they're both going to be in the same series together, but one's supposed to be a bigger game, the other one's supposed to be a spinoff of itself. So it looks like they're trying to maybe start up another franchise, come up with a new IP or something, which I'm always intrigued by stuff like that. I kind of get tired of the same old all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they can come up with something interesting I can, check out. Hopefully, because they so far they've been all about it seems all about action, yeah, other than maybe Alan Wake. Even well, Alan Wake was still action to me, I believe. Um I'd like to see them maybe try something maybe in the survival horror genre maybe or something, or maybe try their hands at a slightly more open world game, even though I'm not into that. Maybe try to do something like that because they always have that seem to have creative ideas. I just want them to do more with them and maybe try to refine them because especially with Quantum Break was to me was broken. It was an ambitious idea, but it fell on its face because they didn't know what to do with it. And I hope that they take this exclusivity thing now and maybe try to make a solid product out of it. So that's why I was intrigued by it more or less.
Well, we'll see how it turns out. Horizon Zero Dawn to become a comic book series launching in summer 2020. Now, the game never really piqued my interest. I did play a little bit of it. It's just not for me. But did you like it, and would you end up reading a comic form of the story? Well, let me say
Um,
this. Let me rephrase this. Are you interested in a comic version of this? Did you like the game? Are you interested in a comic version? And if you are interested in a comic version, do you want it to be based off of the game or a new story?
okay, so let me answer these in order. Okay, so you said the first one was did I play the game,
Do you
right?
like the
That was your
game? Do you
first.
like the game?
I even for an open world game, I do enjoy it. I haven't played too much of it yet. I've only played like a few hours maybe, so I don't have a full handle, but I do very much like the game. So I think there is a lot of story to tell with something like this. I feel like Guerrilla Games was really trying to create their own world and open something up. So yeah, I do think there's something there. So what was the next question?
Uh, would you read a comic based on this?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think for now, yeah. And then the last one you said was like
Do you want
something
it
to
to
do with
be?
like a story based on the game.
Do you want it to be a retelling of the events of the game in comic form,
Mm.
or do you want it to be a new title based? Well,
I
let me rephrase that. Do you want it to be a new story based off of the what happened in the game,
I would
or
like to
even like
see
some kind of prequel, sequel kind of thing?
I would like to see it like be a maybe a continuation of the
Okay.
game or something like that, like for fans or something. And from the details I was able to gather, it says that it's going to come out in July. The first issue is going to come out in July, and it's going to be like $4 or something. And there's supposed to be a prequel like issue, a one-off that's going to be during Free Comic Book Day.
Hmm.
So it seems like they're already trying that idea in a way. Like maybe they're trying to set up the story, kind of bridge the gap to get you going. So I do like the idea of it. I think doing this kind of stuff does show some promise. I mean, I haven't seen I haven't seen personally too many video game comics, only a few. The one that I remember most recently, I think, was Injustice. I believe had a comic, right? Like they incorporated that games into a comic, right?
They did a prequel series for both games. Yes, at least I think it's a prequel for
Okay.
both because I know the first one was a prequel series. I don't know about the second one.
Yeah, so I think there's some potential there, and like having, I'm always for expanding stories in video games too, like
Mm-hmm.
for actually doing some decent storytelling because I feel like we get stagnant with games that just rely more on action and is about giving you interesting characters to get invested in and stuff, which is why I always wanted to see like maybe like Rockstar maybe at some point take a jab at it with like Red Dead Redemption or something, like maybe try to expand the lore of the story of that a little bit. Even though it is a big story, why not maybe do some spin-off stories or something of that too? You could really open this up to a big realm of possibilities. It just people just have to want to do it.
Yeah, I get that. I added one because you didn't add it, and it's kind of a big one. But we'll still finish up with yours. Resident Evil Resistance beta delayed on PS4 and PC due to matchmaking issues.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what
mean
these
this
issues
was
are, nor do I really care. I'm never gonna play the online mode, so whatever.
I think this was a big thing for people who wanna get into that mode, especially considering that there hasn't been there hasn't been a really good Resident Evil multiplayer game in quite a long time. Like Umbrella Corps, I know was a big, gigantic flop, and before that, what was there?
I don't
There
know
was
if
Operation Raccoon City or something like that that tried it too, and it wasn't all that great.
that's not the one I'm thinking of. What's the one where like you could play as like multiple characters and like defend and retreat through the city?
Oh
Resident
shit! Because
Evil.
the only there was an I believe there was one before the current generation ones that was called like I want to say Outbreak maybe.
Yes, I think that's it.
Okay.
Resident Evil Outbreak. Uh, that's not the cover I'm expecting. Hang on.
Hmm.
Because it had a okay, Resident Evil Outbreak. That's the one I'm thinking of. That one was really fun. I don't know if that was multiplayer. I think it was because it did have online ability, but I don't think it had local
Hmm.
co-op. But that's the kind of Resident Evil game I would like. Beyond the remakes and any future iterations, that's the version of the game I'd like to see make a comeback as well. And
Hmm.
if and when they do Resident Evil 8, don't do first person. It's so dumb.
You want to see it go back to like a third person mechanic then?
Yeah, like I think Resident Evil 7 was very much done in the vein of like so many movies in like 2008, 2009, 2010 trying to capitalize on the
Hmm.
VR craze like the movies did the 3D craze. I think Resident Evil 2 and the third remake are showing people that we don't really want our survival horror in first person.
Because it doesn't really capture the essence of these games, especially considering most of the Resident Evil games up until this point have all been in third person, to my knowledge, right?
With the exception of 7 and the light gun games, yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of feels like that's just its home. That's kind of where it belongs almost in a sense. Not that you can't try out new ideas, but I think most players who play a Resident Evil game prefer the third person perspective. It kind of keeps them more engaged with the game, I think.
I think like Metal Gear Solid had a first person perspective, especially in I think the third game, but that was optional, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly, or was it done in only specific instances? I know some games you can flip between third and first person. If you put that in as a setting instead, that'd be fine. Let the player decide how they want to play it, but I don't want to play a Resident Evil game in first person. That's just not my jam. And I don't want another Resident Evil game where there's only like 4 villains.
The truth is too is you can still like I think with 7 I think they were trying to keep it maybe strictly first person so they could have adapted it to VR easier maybe.
Well, that's exactly why. Like I said,
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
don't know if you're paying attention when I speak, but like I said, at that time when Resident Evil 7 came out, so many games were going with that virtual reality as a tag
Oh,
on
sorry,
kind
yeah, I
of.
didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
It's just like a decade ago when movies were bringing back 3D. So I don't need to see VR shit, and I don't think VR is such a huge entity at the moment to warrant games specifically making things just for VR. I know, Half Life Alice is out or is coming out, and that's all VR, but that's a risky gamble. And Steam makes most of their money off of their fucking website, so I don't know.
I think the biggest issue with VR games in general is that you're catering to a niche market, and at the same time you're asking people to drop more money on something else in addition to consoles or other setups that they already have. You're asking people to drop 500 plus like dollars. I think that's what the index costs, maybe even more than that. And it's not really worth it to put your investment into one game that you may or may not like. It just doesn't seem worth the risk, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that with a newer Resident Evil game, I'd probably be down for it to be third person too. And I don't know if it would work out well for them to have it in VR because I don't know if they could handle third person, first person, then VR. Like if they really wanted to try, they could try it, but I don't think it would work out the same.
Well, Resident Evil 7 was in VR, so it's not like they couldn't do it. But in terms of being able to switch back and forth between it, first and third, no, I don't think they would have the machinery needed, especially for the PS5, because it looks like the PlayStation 5 might finally take an L for the PlayStation brand.
It seems like it's going down that road, really. It seems like there's not enough known about it yet, and what they are revealing of it doesn't really sound like super promising or interesting at this point. So I'm just kind of thinking like this is going to be an expensive console that I might just not invest in, to be honest. I might stick with one console. So,
Well, see, and this is the problem now with having people not be exclusive to your console anymore. Because if the PlayStation 5 doesn't have enough to offer, then why would you bother with it? Why not just go with the Xbox? See, this is why you need to keep that exclusivity shit going. Fuck. Lastly, Sony warns of risk of delays to PlayStation games due to the current COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. Sony's warned stakeholders there's a potential risk of delays to first and third-party PlayStation games due to the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. In a statement published Friday, the tech giant first extended its condolences to those affected by the virus and said it was focused on ensuring the safety of its employees and their families, as well as customers and their stakeholders. So, you can pretty much, guess where this is going to go. I'm fine with it. Resident Evil 3 is going to come out here soon.
And Final Fantasy VII Remake's right on its heels.
Listen, I've been waiting for that fucking remake for 12 years. if you're gonna
if it don't come out now, you're gonna be pissed.
No, not at all. If you're gonna tell me that I'm gonna have to wait another 5 weeks, I'm fine.
Yeah. We're in weird times, and if delays are coming, you're just gonna have to expect them. And I'm always for the safety of people, and I gotta be real, it wouldn't surprise me based on the way things are going right now, because you have, what is it, Ghost of Tsushima is in June, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Last of Us is in May. I wouldn't be surprised if those got moved back at least a month each at this point.
Ghost of Tsushima and which one?
Last of Us Part 2. I wouldn't be surprised if they got pushed just slightly back a little bit.
I don't know if you're going to have to worry about those. I think it's going to be more anything after July, because Tsushima and Last of Us should be done for the most part. Those games have been worked on for a long time. It's not like it's a quick turnaround. A lot of like what we're seeing like with TV shows, because like every other TV show is going on hiatus. It's because they're in the middle of shooting, and they still have to edit. Mm-hmm. But, movies that were just about completed, they're working on a skeleton crew, and they're doing full, not individuals, but they've staggered the staffing to 24-hour shifts so that you can get people in and out in small numbers and have a constant workflow to get things done. So if a game is that close to coming out, I assume that they're going to keep working because it's like right there at the finish line. But I think anything that still has substantial editing or retooling or, designing to do, that's going to be delayed by a few months at least. So it's really going to depend.
It's more or less on the second half of the year, then, is what you're saying. Then.
I think this is going to see a lot of second half delays. I think more than likely what you're going to see is games that aren't as far as long as people think or hope they would be are going to be the ones that are delayed, which could be Final Fantasy VII. It's already been delayed once. Twice,
as far
times.
I've seen it like constant, like Square Enix keeps constantly releasing like little briefings on it, and the one thing they are warning about is not necessarily the game coming out, because they said the game is going to come out one way or another digitally on the 10th. The issue that's going to come in is people who have physical copies of it, is that based on the current restrictions and how things are going right now, that certain stores might not get those copies until later, so the delay might come in that sense. So you'll still be able to play it to a degree. It's just how are you going to choose to play it,
Mm-hmm.
And I personally don't have a problem with that. If I have to play it and get it and play it digitally, that's fine. Whatever, I'll do that. That makes it easier on those people. That helps us get through this issue we're currently having, and I'm fine with that. And and remember, we're talking about games too. You know, the world isn't just about this. This is some crazy shit we're in right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we all need to kind of calm down and assess what's really important and understand that these things are here to have fun. So let's just wait until they get here and just be patient. I think that's the best thing you can do right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm fine with it personally. This is the perfect time right now. If you have a backlog, go through your backlog. Do it right now. Because with the delays, this is the perfect time to play games and catch up. That way, when the bigger things come out, you'll have more time and opportunities to play it. So it's the best advice I can give, honestly.
Fair enough. So let's look at any YouTube videos that may have piqued your interest over the last week.
I think the only one that truly, like the biggest one that truly stood out this week was Caddy's video on the PS1 games for babies. Oh man.
Oh, Caddy, you silly son of a bitch.
You beautiful bastard, man. You make me laugh when this craziest shit's going on, right? Like his video just straight up just I was laughing so hard at so many parts. Like now you get to play with poo and all you need is a toilet and a ladle.
He's referring to Winnie the Pooh, just in case you folks haven't seen the video.
Yeah. Yeah, there was what? There was Winnie the Pooh, Teletubbies, there was a bunch of other ones. There's a bunch of other ones too, but I love the bit of him having those really tiny hands and stuff too. That really sold me on it. I like that a lot. But uh, it's an interesting perspective to see somebody talking about that, and I like how he's making the point too of parents buying the system, saying trying to say it's for like it's a family thing, it's for the families, but when you're really buying it for yourself. But oh, here's the gig games for kids, and I kind of like how the segment like rolled off of that premise. I thought that was interesting.
Well, I didn't realize Christopher Titus had a YouTube channel, so I subscribed to that. Still haven't watched anything on it though, but I intend to. It's mostly just him releasing his podcast and his specials on his YouTube channel.
Which is really cool to do at this time because I mean I've always heard all of his bits like on Pandora and other things, but it would be nice to see the full blown specials just somewhere. And the fact that he's putting them all out on YouTube, I'll watch some of those to pass the time. That seems pretty cool.
Oh, they're very good. So let's see. Anything else? I've been listening to some spooky stories on my horror videos. Some good ones, some not so good ones. But for the most part, nothing too exciting. A lot of people are kind of staying. I didn't realize that one was out. Staying kind of close to the vest with things.
It seems almost like a very stagnant time for this kind of stuff, doesn't it? For content.
Yeah, and Stop Skeletons from Fighting didn't post anything this week. At least nothing that I remember. Wrestle Game, you posted a canceled wrestling games. What WCW Mayhem 2? What happened? That was interesting if you've never read anything about it, but it's all pretty surface stuff that if you just Googled it, you'd be able to find out on your own. But if you don't know anything about it or don't know what's going off, it's a good enough video to get you caught up on. But usually when they do videos like that, like especially when you think of like what Matt McMuscles does, you're looking for some pretty intense deep dives, and it doesn't really give you that.
So it's just there's not a whole lot of detail then.
Yeah.
Was that Mayhem was a 64 game, right? If I remember right.
64 on PlayStation.
Or was it? Okay, yeah. All right.
I'm pretty sure it was out on both. And then they did Backstage Assault, which was just trash. Mayhem was all right. Graphically, it looked kind of dumb. But in terms of quality of gameplay, it was all right. So I would check that out. I think that's about it.
Yeah, it's really really slow, man. It's really slow times. Like I've only seen like a few, and as soon as this whole pandemic thing started, like all of the delays and everything just it hit it, especially it hit video games just like any other medium really hard. And with all of the products being delayed and all the events being kind of cut off to later dates, it kind of dampers. It's like dampering the content. I mean, for an honest reason, don't get me wrong, but the proof is right in front of you. You know, it's kind of blocking out content at this point.
The only other thing I would recommend is watching Inside Gaming Daily. They're doing all of their shows now from remote locations, and it's really interesting to see how they're doing the editing and the directing, because they usually do these in multiple takes, and now you can see that they're trying to do it in a different way just so they don't have to be in studio together. So that was pretty good. You know, I appreciate what they're going through with that. They're doing some good stuff. But yeah, that's about all I got for this week. Anything else?
No, not really. I mean, I did play the games like I told you, like with Doom Eternal, and I actually did stream the both Doom Eternal and the Resident Evil 3 demo, like I said I was going to, and the Resident Evil 3 demo, like I got, and I'm not even that good of a player at this stuff. I got through it in like 15 minutes. It was a little like literally went by that quick. There wasn't much to do. It seems like this was the transition point for it where it was starting to heavy hand towards the action but still have some survival horror, but it was much more action oriented. And I don't know what really I feel about that, because I feel like its home should still be survival horror to a degree. Granted, Nemesis, like, dude, when he showed up, he scared the shit out of me. Like, he popped up out of fucking nowhere. Like, as soon as I got a key, I went out the door, and I'm like, fuck. And you can't really do anything. You can't really do anything to him. Like, I've seen some people try to shoot him or do other things. I'm like, fuck it. I'm just running. And I ran, finished the puzzle, and I was done with it. But I was surprised it went by so fast. But I still
Well,
like it.
you only played
I don't know if I would buy it.
you
So
only played 15 minutes of a demo, so don't judge the
yeah.
whole thing by a demo. Especially
No.
when you realize that you're supposed to fight Nemesis, because that's how you get the good ending. So like you skimmed on half the damn game already.
Well, I mean, they don't really give you a chance though. The demo literally locks you to doing that activity to end it. Like you could fight them all you want, but the demo's literally guiding you to an end point. So, but I get what you're saying. Like this is more or less like saying like, do you want to invest in further? Do you want to play this anymore? And I might. I did pick up Resident Evil 2 eventually, even though it was way down the line. But I probably would play this at some point. Especially I love the way they're redesigning this stuff, so I'm always down for that. But yeah, and Doom Eternal is just absolutely fucking batshit insane. Like I'm with you. I love what they're doing with rebooting the series. I think it's one of the best. I think it's the best thing they could have possibly done. And I'm definitely looking forward to finishing it for sure. So hopefully things can hold up and I can finish it like in the next few days. So we'll see where that goes. But other than that, no, nothing. It's been a rather boring week for entertainment, I gotta say.
Well, we were still able to squeeze 55 minutes out of a podcast, so I'm proud of us.
And if truth be told, if we can't find certain things, we can always replace it with others too. You know what I mean? Or not, or skip a week or something. It's always possible.
Cancel the podcast. What?
Well, it's just to more or less ease Chad's brain. He just wants to be away from you as quickly as he possibly can. This
I
is
just,
like,
I just want to have a fucking Saturday night to myself. God damn it! And even that doesn't seem like it's gonna be possible, because what the fuck am I gonna do on a Saturday night right now? Stay inside? I got no excuses not
the
to
shit
do
we've been
this
doing
show.
since forever, right?
I'm fucking stuck doing this shit now. This is the real downside of the pandemic. I don't have an excuse not to do this fucking show.
I locked you down, and it only took a pandemic. Fuck.
You finally did it, Matt. Good job.
Yeah, this was my fault too. Just blame me for everything.
Shouldn't have gone to Wuhan.
Oh yeah, like I travel.
All right. Well, that's all I got. What, you got anything else?
No, that's about it. This was a very, very quick one this week, man. We kind of just breezed right through it.
I like brazing. Helps get things done. RealNerdCorp.com. RealNerdCorp.com. You can find us on Twitter at NERDCorp, on Instagram at RealNerdCorp, RealNerdCorp.com. We are at, nope, that's just RealNerdCorp on Instagram, my bad. We're on Podbean at realnerdcorp.podbean.com or by downloading the Podbean app and searching for Real Nerd Corp through the mobile device. Well, through the app on the mobile device. We are also on youtube.com. Search Comic and Game Core, and you can listen to all of our shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday at twitch.tv/Comic and Game Core. Matt, what are your personals?
You can find me on Twitter at mnerdcorp and the same handle on Twitch.
You can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut. That's all we got for you guys this week, Matt. I guess we'll wait on next week's show to see what we have in the pipeline to talk about.
I mean, yeah, it depends. It depends. I mean, if anything, we could like maybe just pick one like topic or something and just riff on that for a while, and if there's no real like news, you know what I mean?
Well, like I said, we'll see what we have available because, we may not have a lot to talk about.
That's fair.
So we will deal with what we got, and we'll let you guys know. Stay tuned to Twitter for any updates. So, Matt, unless you got anything else to say, it's time to say goodnight.
Just thank you everybody for listening, and just stay safe, and hopefully we'll have some more stuff for you next week. See you next time.